Hello, today I'm going to be doing a review on the anime called Higurashi When They Cry. This review is going to be based solely on the TV anime for fans of Higurashi. I'm not basing it on any of the other things that have come out before and after. For a little bit of a backstory for people who don't know much about Higurashi, the anime series is based off a video game which premiered in 2002, I believe, and spawned several sequels running through 2006. It also has a manga, which consists of 34 volumes at the moment, started in March 2005 and is still going on. It has 21 novels, 2 live-action movies, an OVA, which has 5 episodes, and a new OVA coming out this year, which is consisting of 4 episodes. Now, the TV anime, there are 2 seasons to it. The first one premiered in 2006 and consisted of 26 episodes. The second season premiered in 2007 and had a run of 24 episodes. Higurashi is not told in your conventional storytelling way, so bear with me if I start to ramble or drone on about things. Higurashi is divided into arcs. Most of them only last about 4 or 5 episodes. So let's get started. Higurashi takes place in June 1983 in a village called Hinamizawa. The main character, Keiichi Maebara, moves to Hinamizawa and befriends his classmates Rena Ryugu, Mion Sonozaki, Shion Sonozaki, Rika Furude, and Sataka Hojo. Keiichi joins their after-school club activities, which consist of card games, board games, and sometimes outdoor games, and then punishment games for the loser, which are usually him. Hinamizawa appears to be normal and peaceful to Keiichi. However, he finds that all is not what it seems in Hinamizawa after the annual Cotton Drifting Festival, which is a celebration to commemorate their local god Oyashiro. Keiichi learns that every year for the past 4 years, one person has been murdered and another has gone missing on the day of the festival. He also learns that 4 years ago, Tokyo tried to destroy Hinamizawa and build a dam, and that all the villagers band together and stop the dam project. And it is believed by the villagers that anybody who supported this dam project were targets of Oyashiro's curse. In each story arc, he and or one of his friends usually become paranoid and a crime is committed. This paranoia is later found out to be a result of the deadly Hinamizawa syndrome. This syndrome is contained in every inhabitant of Hinamizawa. As long as they stay, they won't be affected. But if they try to leave or think they're going to leave, or think about leaving, they will be overcome by paranoia, and they will either kill somebody else before they kill themselves, or they will just kill themselves. While it seems impossible to tell their delusions apart from the mystery of Hinamizawa, slowly the truth is revealed. Alright, so let's move on to our main characters. First off, we have Keiichi Maebara. Keiichi Maebara is the main character and the new kid on the block in Hinamizawa. He's exceptionally bright for his age, but always tends to lose games to the other girls in his class. While not having any special talents like some of the other characters do, Keiichi is a great friend, and this is what drives the rest of the characters to survive throughout the series. Keiichi is just your average kid, and probably the only character in this story that does not have a tragic backstory. Keiichi, though, is able to create relationships with every person he meets, especially between himself and all the main characters. Whether good or bad, everyone remembers Keiichi. Alright, our next character, I'm going to put 2 of them together because they're twins. It's going to be Mion and Shion Sonozaki. Let's start with Mion since she's featured more in the series. Mion is the oldest of our main characters, or so you think. She is the leader of their after-school club activities and the heir to the Sonozaki family. The Sonozaki family is the most rich and most powerful of all of Hinamizawa. Mion Sonozaki is very headstrong and very tomboyish, although she does have a feminine side, and this is shown when Keiichi gets a doll and gives it to Rena instead of Mion, and Mion's feelings are hurt. And this is also mostly because she has a small crush on Keiichi. Although it's uncertain if Keiichi is aware of her feelings or if he returns them, he still considers Mion to be one of his best friends. Her twin sister Shion is the more girly of the two. She's sent away to live in a nearby town and not to return to Hinamizawa. However, a year before the events in the anime, she does return, and this is when she meets Satoshi Hojo. He's the older brother of Satoko Hojo, whose parents were supporters of the Dam Project, who were I believe, the first people to die / go missing. Everything Shion does in the series, she says she does it for Satoshi. Besides each other and their crushes, Mion and Shion are not really shown to have a stronger relationship with anybody else. Yes, they're friends with Rika, Rena, and Satoko, but they're not really shown to be anything more than just classmates or club mates. Alright, our next character is going to be Rena Ryugu. Rena seems to be Keiichi's closest friend of all of the main girls. He befriends her first in Hinamizawa, and they're always seen walking to school together. And it's also shown in several different arcs that Keiichi and Rena team up in order to figure out any mysteries that might not involve them. It's also shown that she's probably Keiichi's closest friend in the arc that revolves around Rena. After she kills 2 people and becomes infected with the Hinamizawa syndrome, she believes that there's maggots in her blood and she's starting to claw at her own throat. She becomes extremely paranoid, and her and Keiichi have a duel on the roof of the school at one point. This duel is supposed to be to death, but when Rena wins, she doesn't want to kill Keiichi because Keiichi had told her before that as long as we're friends, we can get through anything. Alright, our next character is going to be Satoko Hojo. While she's much younger than Keiichi, Mion, and Rena, Satoko is very mature for her age. She's also a master trap setter. Satoko Hojo is one of the most tragic characters I've ever seen in not only Higurashi, but in an anime. Her parents were killed / disappeared due to Oyashiro's curse since they were supporters of the Dam Project. Her and her brother, Satoshi, were sent to live with their aunt and uncle. From what I've gathered, the uncle left shortly after, and the aunt was extremely abusive to Satoko. And this is why I say that she's probably one of the most tragic characters. It's kind of funny. As far as I've seen, in the anime at least, I don't know if it's different anywhere else, but if the aunt is really only abusive to Satoko and not Satoshi, I don't understand that why. Maybe it's because she's a little bit of a crybaby, I don't know. But it's shown that at one point in the series, Satoshi is getting a part-time job because he says he wants to buy Satoko a birthday present. Satoko is not allowed to stay after school though because she might get dirty. Something about that doesn't seem to add up to me, especially since Satoshi was allowed to keep the money that he gets in his part-time job. You would think if he was getting the part-time job, his aunt would steal all the money from him. But no, that's not the case. The reason the club actually got invented in the first place was because Satoshi wanted Satoko to escape from her aunt's abuse for a little bit while longer, and since if she got her clothes dirty, she would be beaten. Mion suggested that they create a club after school that consists of indoor board games and card games, and that her aunt couldn't get mad if she was staying after for a club. Satoshi becomes paranoid and infected with the Hinamizawa syndrome and eventually kills the aunt, even though somebody else was convicted with her murder. This year, Satoshi had disappeared and the aunt was killed. In 1983, Satoko's uncle returns, and he is also extremely abusive towards Satoko. She often says that he had thrown an ashtray in her face and made her clean it up, same thing with a hot bowl of soup. Although she won't admit the abuse because she thinks that the reason why Satoshi disappeared was because she was a crybaby and she wants to show him that she can be strong, and this means not asking for everyone's help. Satoko is best friends with Rika Furude as they live together since both of their parents are dead. It's not really shown that she has a strong relationship with anybody other than Shion, Satoshi, and Rika. You never really see her interact with Rena, and when she in the one arc when her and Keiichi are supposed to be close, she believes he's a murderer. And that brings us to our last characters. We have Rika Furude, and I'm also going to include Hanyu in here. Now, Rika Furude in the beginning seems just to be a secondary character, but towards the end of the first season and throughout the second season, it's shown that she is the central character. She is the queen carrier of the Hinamizawa syndrome, and if she is killed, then everybody in Hinamizawa will die within 2 days. It's also shown that in every arc, when it seems that when the main characters die, and then the next episode they're back alive again, her and her friend Hanyu, which only she can see, are making sure that she can live past 1983. So they keep going back in time to hopefully learn more about who's killing who, so they can stop them before any of her friends have to die. Rika's only true relationships are shown with Hanyu, who only she can see until the very last arc, Keiichi, because Keiichi is the person who throughout the last season encourages her to never give up. And of course, Sato and Kojo, since they live together, and as she has said, she's her best friend. The remaining cast is prominently full of adults. There is Police Chief Oishi, who's a veteran police officer, who is dead set on solving the mystery of the earlier murders that occurred in Hinamizawa before his retirement, which would be 1983. A freelance photographer named Tomitake comes to Hinamizawa occasionally. He's seen to be friends with Mio Takano, a female nurse at the local clinic, who has a suspiciously keen interest in Hinamizawa's past and culture. She works with Captain or Dr. Iri, who's the head of the clinic and the coach of the village children. Okay, so now that everybody has a basic overview of Higurashi and the main characters, let's start the actual portion of the review. The story of Higurashi is, honestly, it's kind of weak. I mean, yes, it's interesting trying to figure out what all this stuff is, but in the end of the series, I really didn't see a clear resolution. And yes, spoiler alert, they all live in the end. They finally figure everything out, but there's still so many unanswered questions that it's not really completely satisfying. Yes, you're happy that all the characters live happily ever after, pretty much, but you're still unclear what the Hinamizawa syndrome exactly is, if they're ever going to cure it, what happens to Satoshi, what happens to Shion, because in the end, you pretty much don't get a glimpse of anybody else except Rika, Satoko, and Hanyu. What happens to our villains? What happens, there's a lot of questioning about several things, so maybe it's different in the video games and the manga and such, but as far as I was concerned with the anime, the ending was not extremely satisfying to me. It had this huge build-up and then kind of sank. The writing in this show, I've only watched the dub and the sub of the first season, but there's only a sub available for the second season, so I only watched that. But as far as I'm concerned about this show, the writing is only average. It kind of feels like towards the end mostly, because in the first season with all the arcs and stuff, there's not really a lot of talking going on. I mean, yes, there's dialogue, but it's nothing of significance, because none of that stuff really matters. It only matters what is said towards the end when you're trying to figure everything out. Things that happened in earlier arcs almost don't seem to matter in the end. The reason why they had to keep going back was because they were trying to learn things, but it didn't seem like they started to learn anything until towards the end. So, as I'm reflecting upon the series, it seems like the beginning was mostly just, we're gonna get some good kills in or something. It wasn't really anything that contributed to the plot, other than introducing our characters and introducing a little bit of the Hinamizawa syndrome, although it's not mentioned until later, and Oyashiro's curse. The characters in this show, they're not terrible characters, and I can't really say they could be better because of what this show is about and what the plot needs them to be. But other than Keiichi, all of our main girls all have very tragic backstories. Their parents are either killed or something ridiculous. Like Satoko and Rika's parents are both killed. Yes, Rena and Mion's parents are still alive. Rena's mother cheated on her father with another man, and then said that she was pregnant with his baby and that she was going to leave her father for the other man, and this causes Rena to go crazy, and she moves back to Hinamizawa with her father. Mion and Shion are just a bucket of tortured souls, mostly Shion, but it's and Satoko just being the only person who's getting abused. I mean, she lives with Satoshi, and Satoshi never gets abused. He's always worried about Satoko getting abused. Really? If there was really a problem, why didn't he go? He could have told Satoko, hey, we're gonna go and we're gonna fix this. But I don't know. There's a lot of iffy things where I'm like, okay, well, if you were real, this is what would actually happen. This is not, I mean, I know it's an anime and I know it's not really supposed to be real, but they try to give these characters, realistic point of view, I guess, and feelings, but it doesn't work. But the characters, mostly actually the minor characters and the villains / adults, all are actually very interesting characters, and their role is extremely important. Honestly, you could probably take away Rena and a couple other characters, and the story would be the same, but other than that, the adult characters in this show, without them, because they're the masterminds, if you will, behind Hinamizawa, none of this stuff would ever get figured out. Alright, so let's move on to the art. I actually really like the art for this show. Now, looking at, pictures of the characters, yes, they all have crazy colored hair, but their hair isn't too crazy, like the styles, if you will. They're not too anime, over the top deal. They're just normal anime hair. All their eyes are drawn extremely big, of course, so they're not realistic looking. But the one thing I actually really, really admire about Higurashi is that all the characters look their age. And what I mean by this is, if you're watching Sailor Moon and you want to tell me that Usagi Tsukino is 13, 14 years old, I won't believe you. She looks like she's 16, 17 years old. I mean, she's fully developed. I mean, I know most kids when they're 13 and 14 are still either stickly or, starting to grow into their bodies. And you can tell that in a lot of these characters, like Rena, Mion, and Shion. Since I think they're about 15, maybe 16 years old, you can look at them and they look like they're 15 and 16 years old. They look younger than Usagi does in Sailor Moon. If you look at the way their bodies are drawn, they have small breasts and small hips and, almost stickly arms and legs because, that's the way most kids are until, they're like in that awkward kind of stage. And then, of course, Rika and Satoko, even though they're young, and of course they don't really have breasts or anything like that, their arms and legs are stick. I was 6, 7 years old. I was a giant stick. I did not have any curves. They try to throw into all these anime characters in other series. I mean, if someone's chubby, that's one thing, but if you are supposed to be skinny, like most anime characters generally are, try not to make them voluptuous and then, of course, our older characters, our adults, actually look like they're adults. We've seen so many anime that have adults who look like they're probably 15 years old. They don't actually look like they're teenagers. They don't actually look like they're adults. And I was disappointed by the music in Higurashi. The theme song and the ending song is just typical, J-pop song. Nothing really special. Nothing that I even really can, hum a tune to or remember. It's just background music for the animation. And the same thing with the background music. I actually don't even remember any background music playing in Higurashi. I'm sure there is, but I don't remember any. And that means that none of it was memorable, none of the tunes. There was nothing there for me to really remember. And music is a huge part of storytelling, and anime sets the tone. It makes you remember things. If there's a really scary scene and you have scary music playing, it enhances the experience. But honestly, I don't remember any. Higurashi is infamous for its as I've said earlier, in every arc, either Keiichi, one of his friends, or both become infected with the Hinazawa syndrome, extremely paranoid, and then either murder one of their friends or somebody else. If you watch anime like Dragon Ball Z, there's lots of fighting, blood, drama, violence, but it still has a cartoon feel. And it's also better if you watch Higurashi, it seems like something that came out of a solver, or maybe something that you've seen on CSI or Medium. Probably the most infamous is Shion, working with the reason why the murders in Higurashi are so infamous and so gruesome are probably mostly because they have a torture aspect to them, and they're realistic in their deaths. When you watch Dragon Ball Z, everybody seems to have superpowers, but in Higurashi, they're not killing others with their ki or their superhuman strength. They're killing them with tasers, whips, bats, knives, you name it. Now, to some people, this might not be scary at all, but to others, like myself, this is not something you'd want to watch before you go to bed. There are certain images from Higurashi that are burned into my mind forever, one of which is when Satoko was crucified by Shion and is stabbed multiple times in her arms and then finally in her heart. So if you're somebody with a light stomach or a light heart, you might not want to watch Higurashi. The reason why I put this as part of the review is because this is the major reason why people either do or don't watch Higurashi. They see something about it. For example, usually the torture scenes are the first thing that pops up. Why? Because they're so not because they're important in the series necessarily, and they are. So the scenes are animated well. All the characters are horrifying as a symbol. And for the most part, the deaths are realistic. There are certain things, however, if it happened to a normal person, they would have the same reaction like when Satoko's being stabbed. I'm pretty sure any 9-year-old gets stabbed at least twice in the arm. Even past that scene, would have been a horrifying experience. Murder is death. Part of Higurashi, because for about 5 minutes at the most. But a lot of important details about the scenes come out when either somebody is being murdered or someone is murdering them. Learn different things about the characters and the plot. Now, would I watch Higurashi again? Maybe. It really just depends. I enjoyed it. I may not dislike it, and I did like it, but it's definitely not going to make my top 20 list. And it's really nothing with series stuff. I mean, I think there are a lot better series out there, that's my opinion. But honestly, this one doesn't bring too much to the table. Maybe if I went and played the video games, read the manga, live actions, watched the OVAs, maybe more of my questions would be answered and I'd be more satisfied. It's almost as when I was watching the anime Spiral. When you watch the anime, you're very dissatisfied at the end and you really don't want to watch any, it doesn't going to make you go read the manga or anything, but if you read the manga to that show is absolutely phenomenal. And maybe it's the same way with Higurashi, but as I said, based on what I've seen in the anime, I probably will watch it again at some point or another, but not right now. It's not something that I'm like, ooh, that was really good, I gotta watch that. I do recommend this show to anybody who likes mystery or something that makes you think, rather than the generic, most anime are all about, they try to have action, drama, comedy. They try to be they try to like go in different genres so that multiple people like them. But Higurashi pretty much stays in its murder mystery category. Yes, of course, there's a little bit of humor, and of course there's drama in any murder mystery kind of deal, but it has other inklings of stuff in there. That's just for generic storytelling purposes, but it's not like it's trying to be multiple things at once. It really is just a psychological murder mystery thriller, and it does stay in that category.
If you want to watch Higurashi, I recommend watching it on the internet. I don't usually condone watching anime illegally on the internet, but Higurashi is nowhere to be found. It was licensed by Gene Eon a while ago. Just the first season it was dubbed. And as far as I know, Funimation now owns the license to Higurashi, the first season and the second season, but haven't done anything with it in quite some time. I'm not even sure you can still buy the first season DVDs. If you go onto Funimation's website and you go onto their Higurashi section, there's nothing there. Try to click on merchandise, DVDs, there's nothing there. So if you really want to watch a series, just watch it subbed on the internet. That's honestly my best option for you. I hope everyone enjoyed this review on the anime Higurashi When They Cry. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave a comment or a message. If you have an anime you wish for me to review or talk about, also leave me a comment or a message. I hope you enjoyed this review, and tell me what you think about Higurashi.